How's it going, everybody? This is RBT coming at you with my Week 9 college football prediction video. And isn't it really crazy that it's already Week 9 in the football season? I mean, it seems like this season's going by way faster than it was last year. I mean, we got 3 or 4 more weeks left of the regular season, and then it's time for the bowl games. I mean, seems really crazy. It's going by really fast. October's almost over. So, as you all know, Monday is my video day. I make all my videos on Monday, so it takes me about 2 hours. So let me get right into it. Thursday night, we got Clemson at Wake Forest. Wake Forest is traditionally a pretty good team on Thursday night games. They always show up, so I think they're going to make it tough for Clemson. Tanner Price is a really good quarterback. They have weapons on their offense. It's going to be tough for Clemson to go down to Winston-Salem and get the W by double digits. But I think Wake Forest makes it closer than people think. But Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins, Andre Ellington, way too much for that Wake Forest defense, and I don't think they'll be able. I think they'll make it close in the first half, but Clemson will pull away in the second half. I say Clemson 35, Wake Forest 24. Friday night game, which was supposed to be a ranked matchup between Cincinnati and Louisville, but Cincinnati lost to Toledo last week, and they were undefeated going to that game. They would have been ranked, and they lost to Toledo. So now it's 5-1 or 6-1 Cincinnati at undefeated Louisville. This is going to be a close game either way, but I do think Louisville continues their streak of I think it'll be 8 or 9 in a row, or they're eight in a row, I think. But Teddy Bridgewater, you guys, if you do not know who this guy is, you need to watch this game Friday night, because this guy is an absolute beast. He is like 6'2", 6'3", really tall, black quarterback, can move in the pocket, he has a strong arm, needs to work on his consistency and accuracy, but he's a great quarterback. I think he'll beat Cincinnati on Friday night. Louisville is the team to watch. I mean, they're not only good, but it's scary because they're so young, and just about every player on that's starting on each side of the ball for them will be back next year. They only have 9 seniors on that team. So, anyways, let's say Louisville 32, Cincinnati 21. Moving on to the Saturday games, Tennessee at South Carolina. South Carolina is a completely different team at home than they are away. They're extremely vulnerable away, but when they're at home, at William Price Stadium, they play really, really good football. And Tennessee, they're a team that can beat you deep, but if they can't beat you deep and have to resort to the running game or the intermediate passing game, that's when they struggle, and that's where they're going to get beat in this game. Marcus Lattimore is going to do pretty much what T.J. Yeldon and Eddie Lacy did last week against Tennessee. They're just going to tear up that Tennessee defense. I think Connor Shaw will have a big game. I think South Carolina wins this game pretty big. I'm going to go South Carolina 38, Tennessee 17. Texas at Kansas. Texas is not that great of a team, but Kansas is just pathetic. The worst team in the Big 12 by far. It's the truth. I pull for Kansas at times, but I mean that's the dead honest truth. Texas is going to roll over Kansas. I say 42-10 Texas. Iowa at Northwestern. Iowa, I thought was going to put up a better fight than they did against Penn State last week, and they got absolutely just destroyed. Northwestern they're a dangerous team. They have 1 loss on the year, or 2 losses on the year. They barely got edged out by Nebraska last week. Their kicker missed a field goal the very last seconds of the game to lose. Now 2-2 in the Big Ten. I think they improved to 3-2 in the Big Ten. I think they're just too much for Iowa. Iowa's going to play the traditional Big Ten football where they go 80 yards, kick a field goal, play good defense, but Northwestern will pull away at the end. And I say Northwestern 27, Iowa 14. Kentucky at Missouri. Missouri's not a good team, but Kentucky's a terrible team. And I think Missouri gets a W in this game. Let's say 31. It's going to be close. Both teams are not great at all. The bottom dwellers in the East of the SEC. I'm going to go Missouri 31, Kentucky 27. James Franklin will make too many plays, and Kentucky won't be able to keep up. But they'll make it close, but still. Temple at Pitt. Temple's definitely been a surprise team in the Big East this year. They're now 3-1. Pittsburgh's probably been the disappointment of the Big East this year, but I think they get it done against Temple. Gino Sinceri, Ray Graham. Ray Graham's going to have a huge game against Temple. Temple is not a good team against the run. So I don't know. I'll say Pitt 34, Temple 21. Indiana at Illinois, two of the worst teams in the Big Ten. Indiana got beat last week, which is sad. Lost to Navy. They're on a 5-game losing streak, and they can score points. So can Illinois. Both teams have terrible defenses, so I do think this is a high-scoring game in the 40s. But I think Illinois is going to barely edge out Indiana playing in Champaign. I'm going to say Illinois 45, Indiana 40. Ole Miss at Arkansas. I'm going to give first-year head coach Hugh Freeze the W against Arkansas. Ole Miss, don't get me wrong, they're a dangerous team, but they can be vulnerable at times. But Arkansas they're improving. They really are. They played pretty well against Auburn, played pretty well against Kentucky coming off a bye week, so I think it's going to be tough for Ole Miss. But Ole Miss, they're a legitimate team. They're probably 4th best team in the SEC West. So, and the 5th best team, I think, is Arkansas. So that's why I give Ole Miss the W. Bo Wallace he's probably the best quarterback in the SEC at getting away from pressure. And with Ole Miss's offensive line not being so great, that's a big key for Ole Miss's offense to be successful. And they have them, so I think they win this game 34-31 over Arkansas. The rivalry, North Carolina State at North Carolina. I'm going to give North Carolina the edge here. Giovanni Bernard, Bryn Renner, two dangerous offensive weapons for North Carolina. North Carolina is coming off a loss against Duke. Who is surprisingly 3-1 in the ACC, I think. North Carolina coming off 2 straight wins against Florida State, Maryland. 2 really close wins. I do think this will be a very, very close game. I'm going to give North Carolina the W. I'm going to say 27-24 North Carolina. Bryn Renner leads his team down the field and kicks a field goal, or their kicker kicks a field goal as the time expires to win the game. Maryland at Boston College. Maryland has improved since week 1. They've got better. Their starting quarterback got hurt at the beginning of the season, which was definitely devastating for them. They definitely have gotten better. Their freshman quarterback's got experience. I can't think of his name. I can always remember his name, but I can't. Boston College, worst team in the ACC, definitely. I don't know what's happened to Boston College. They don't have offense, don't have a defense. Their defense is traditionally a pretty decent and well-coached defense, but it's just been terrible this year. They're giving up over like 30-something points a game, giving up 33 points a game, and they can't do anything on offense. They have improved through the passing game, but I think a big reason their stats in the passing game's gone up is because they're trying to throw all the time because they're always behind. So I think Maryland gets the W. Boston College remains winless in the ACC. I'm going to go Maryland wins this game 37-17 over Boston College. Oh, goodness. Colorado at Oregon. This game, Oregon can score 50 points in the first quarter if they wanted to. I'm going to go Oregon 63, Colorado 10. It's going to be that bad, if not worse. UCLA at Arizona State. I'm going to go UCLA in this game. Brett Hundley, I think, makes too many plays. I think Arizona State's pretty vulnerable. Against the run. Jonathan Franklin, he's a dangerous running back for UCLA. I think he has a big game against Arizona State. And I'm going to go UCLA 30, Arizona State 24. BYU at Georgia Tech. BYU should win this game. Georgia Tech's definitely had a drop-off this year. Defense is terrible. Agro's already been fired. BYU, I think I said this in every single video. BYU, I think, has a top 10 defense, even though they're 4-4. I'll tell you the score. I'll tell you right now. They've only given up over 20 points one time, and that's Oregon State, and they gave up 42 points. I guess that was kind of a fluke game. But I told you, they're 8th in the country right now, 14 points a game given up. But that's including a 42-point game against them, so that shows you how good of a defense they are. And they played some pretty legitimate opponents. But either way, I'm going to go BYU. Ryan Nelson, I think, will expose that secondary of Georgia Tech. They'll run the ball on them. And I'm going to go BYU big, 42-20. No, 42-17 BYU. Florida versus Georgia. Oh goodness. Georgia's definitely struggled this year. I mean, they're still sitting at number 10 in the country. They can pull upset here. I think they'll be right back in the national title race because they'll be able to go to the SEC championship game, more than likely if they win this game. But they have struggled. I have no reason to believe Georgia will win this game. They struggled against Kentucky. Kentucky, a late turnover or a late, I forget what it was. Kentucky made a mistake late, or I think it was a penalty, something like that sealed the deal for Georgia. Um, they got absolutely destroyed, dismantled at South Carolina. Florida definitely been the shocker of the year for me. Definitely thought they were going to do less than stellar. I thought they were an 8-4 team at best. Their defense is definitely shown to be an amazing defense. Their offense can score at times. I'm going to give Florida a very, very close victory. I'm going to go 24-21 Florida over Georgia. Texas Tech at Kansas State. I think this is going to be the closest game of the year for Kansas State, but I think Colin Klein outduels Seth Deggy of that Texas Tech potent offense, even though Texas Tech's defense is top 15 in the country, I believe. Well, now they're strike that. They're 34 now, but that's counting in a 56-point game last week against TCU in triple overtime. So I think if you take away last game, they're a top 15 defense in the country. They definitely improved on the defensive side of the ball with Tommy Tuberville at head coach. But I think playing in Manhattan, Kansas State gets a victory. Like I said, I think this is going to be the closest game of the week. Closest game of the season for Kansas State thus far. I'm going to go 28. No, I'm going to go 34-31 Kansas State. USC at Arizona. I believe Arizona gives USC a scare. Don't understand why some people have USC at top 5 in the country. That's ridiculous to me. I think it was Jerry Palm in the CBS poll. I think they have USC number 4. I had an undefeated Notre Dame and other schools, which is ridiculous. But either way, I think Matt Barkley has a pretty big game against Arizona. They make it close, or closer than people think it's going to be. But I'm going to go USC. USC 42, Arizona 30. Duke at Florida State. This, let me go over my schedule real fast. Yep, this is my upset of the week. Duke, if they have so much momentum, and this is a point in the program where they haven't been in the history of Duke football. David Cutcliffe has restored, or I can't say restored because there's never been a decent Duke program I ever can remember. But what are they sitting at, 6-2 right now? I might be wrong. I know they're 3-1 in the ACC. 6-2, I was right. They're coming off a big win against North Carolina. If they can win this game against Florida State, at Florida State, this, as crazy as it sounds, pretty much would guarantee Duke a spot in the ACC championship game, which would probably set them up for a rematch against Florida State. And that right there inspires the Duke players to pull out one of the biggest shockers so far this season. And I think Sean Renfree, I've stated this over and over again, is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the ACC. He led Duke on Duke was winning the game last week against North Carolina, 20-6 going into the fourth quarter. North Carolina comes back, scores a touchdown late, and Duke has to go down the field and with like a minute left and scores and avoids the comeback, devastating loss, and beats North Carolina by 3 points. And like I said, on inspiration alone, I think Duke beats Florida State. Florida State's going to be sleeping through this game, as they always do. They always lose a game or two to the schools that nobody expects. And I'm going to go Duke 24, Florida State 21. Michigan State at Wisconsin. Oh, goodness. I'm going to go. Wisconsin has been playing better football. Michigan State's coming off of. They played Michigan really, really tough, but Michigan outscored them or kicked the field goal last few seconds of the game. They did play them tough, though. Playing at Wisconsin in Madison. It's going to be a tough environment, but I think Le'Veon Bell makes way too many plays for Wisconsin. It's going to be a duel of the running backs, Le'Veon Bell, Monte Ball. Both, I think, are going to have pretty big games, and whoever has a better game, I think, is going to win this game. But I think Michigan State will stop Monte Ball more times than Wisconsin can stop Le'Veon Bell. So I'm going to go Michigan State 27, Wisconsin 24. Purdue at Minnesota. Purdue should win this game. Minnesota started out the season 4-0, but it's been bad ever since. They've been blown out many times on a 3-game losing streak. Lost Iowa, Northwestern, Wisconsin 3 in a row. I think they took advantage of the easy schedule that they had early on in the season, but Purdue's coming off that just devastating loss against Iowa State. They thought they were going to pull the upset, but Ohio State, of course, comes back late to get the victory, but Purdue's going to be hungry for a victory in the Big Ten play, and Purdue wins this game big. I'm going to say 42-14 Purdue, really big win. TCU at Oklahoma State. Yes, kudos to me. I predicted the Oklahoma State upset over Iowa State last week. I don't know if you really can call that an upset, but Iowa State was ranked, so technically you could, but I think everybody really agrees that Oklahoma State's a better football team than Iowa State. TCU's coming off of all these losses last week were really close and devastating, coming off a big loss, or a close loss to Texas Tech in triple overtime. Barely got out beat by Texas Tech. Their second string quarterbacks came in and played quite well ever since Casey Pahal's been out or been suspended for the season. Like I said, Oklahoma State's coming off a big victory against Iowa State. I still don't know how good Oklahoma State is just yet. I mean, they got blown out by Arizona. First of all, you start the season, they played Savannah State. You don't know how good Savannah State is, but they beat them 84-0. But they're just like, oh, good God. And they get blown out by Arizona the next week. Score 65 in Louisiana-Lafayette, which is one of the better teams in the Sun Belt. Lose to Texas, who we all know now has been exposed. Beat Kansas by 6, and then they beat Iowa State, which is a pretty darn good football team. They scored 46 points a game. J.W. Walsh has definitely been a good quarterback this year. Joseph Randall's already ran for 700-something yards. They're 8th in the country, 260 yards a game. TCU has a pretty good offense, too. But this game being at Oklahoma State, another very close victory. I think all my predictions so far have been basically pretty close, but I'm going to go Oklahoma State. High scoring game, 45-42. Ohio State at Penn State. I feel bad for that guy I pick on here, Andrew Kahn. I picked against Penn State every single week of the season so far. In the last 5 weeks, they proved me wrong. Definitely last week, but maybe I'll pick for them. Pick them a point for the rest of the year. Maybe a game or two, but you can't pick Penn State over Ohio State. You really can't. It's gonna be a tough game playing at Penn State, but I would love to pick Penn State. I mean, if I really thought they're gonna win this game, I'm not just gonna say Penn State's not gonna win just because I don't like them. If Penn State I thought was actually gonna win this game, I would definitely pick Penn State. I mean, that's not what the case here. Just Ohio State, I think it's a really good football team. They're finding ways to win, and I do think Penn State makes it close. I do think they make it close, but Ohio State, Braxton Miller, depends on his health. If he's healthy, they should win this game. If he's not, I think it'll be really, really close, whoever wins. But assuming Braxton Miller's going to be healthy for this game, I'm going to say Ohio State 27, Penn State 24. Washington State at Stanford. It's going to take Mike Leach a few more years to get that team ready to be able to compete for a Pac-12 championship or a bowl game for that. But Stanford running the ball with Stephon Taylor, they should put up 40 points on Washington State. I say Stanford 45, Washington State 10. Texas A&M at Auburn, this game will be a blowout. Johnny Manziel, they about beat LSU last week. I mean, if it wasn't for the 3 interceptions, they probably would have won that game. If you watched the first quarter of that game, you would have thought Texas A&M is the best team in the country. LSU couldn't get anything done on offense, so if it wasn't for the 3 picks, they would have lost. But Auburn, they're in dismay, man. They're not a good team. 1-6 now, 1-7, I'm not sure. I think 1-6. Texas A&M is a really dangerous team. Johnny Manziel, he's a great quarterback, but he's still got to learn. He's got to learn not to make so many turnovers. I mean, if he limits his turnovers, they win that game. But he's not going to have to worry about limiting his turnovers this game against Auburn. Texas A&M should blow out Auburn. I'm gonna say 36-14 Texas A&M. Syracuse, South Florida. I'm gonna go Syracuse in this game. Ron Nassib makes too many plays. South Florida's having the worst season in a long, long time. I feel bad for him. I have a buddy that plays for South Florida, but anyway, Syracuse wins this game, 35-21. Baylor at Iowa State. Iowa State's looking for revenge. Playing at home. It's never easy playing in Anna's. Iowa. Iowa State, like I said, is looking for revenge. So they're still a good football team, even though they got blew out by Oklahoma State. They're not the Iowa State of old. They definitely have changed the perspective on that program. People were scared to go play in Anna's, but I'm going to go Iowa State close, 37-36 victory, Iowa State over Baylor. A couple more games to go. Notre Dame at Oklahoma. This is going to be like I said, a very, very close game. I hate all these games are going to be, I think, really close. But I'm going to go Oklahoma in this game. I just don't think Notre Dame's a great team, don't get me wrong, one of the better defenses in the country. But I think having that lackluster offense is going to eventually catch up with them. They've squeaked out of a few games, including last week against BYU, won 17-14. Squeaked a controversial win out the week before against Stanford. Played a bunch of games close, and I think it finally bites them in the butt. It's going to be tough to play in Norman, and I think Oklahoma wins this game 31-30 over Notre Dame. Probably the closest game and most exciting game of the day. Michigan at Nebraska. I think Nebraska upsets Michigan. Taylor Martinez. Michigan's coming off a very, very close victory against rival Michigan State. It's going to be tough playing in Lincoln. Nebraska actually hasn't played Michigan State yet. I thought they already did. But I do think this is an upset win. Michigan's still a good team. Probably going to make it to the Big Ten championship. Probably going to win the Big Ten championship. But either way, I think Nebraska wins this game. I'm going to say 34-27 Nebraska. 3 more games. Yeah, 3. Mississippi State and Alabama. I think people are definitely overlooking Mississippi State. They're a good team, but they're not near as good as many people are giving them credit for. I mean, if you look at their schedule, they played Jacksonville State, South Alabama, Troy. Let me get this right. It was Jackson State, not Jacksonville State. Jackson State, Auburn, Troy, South Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee. I mean, that's a terrible out-of-conference schedule. Middle Tennessee, South Alabama, Troy, Jackson State. They struggled with Troy, only won by 6. They didn't beat Auburn too convincingly. It was close until very late. They only scored 30 on South Alabama. It's just their first year being a FBS team. Struggled with Kentucky, beat Tennessee by 10, and they played quite well against Middle Tennessee. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think they're a top 25 team, but I don't think they're a number 11 team in the country. Alabama's going to expose that this week, playing that Bryant-Denny at night game. Tough for anybody to come in Bryant-Denny and win a game, and definitely don't see that happening this week. I'm going to go Alabama big, 42-17 Alabama. Cal at Utah. Utah's got a strong front 7. Did get beat by Oregon State, which I was expecting. Not many people thought they were going to lose Oregon State, but they play some tough defense, have a pretty decent front 7, and I think that's what wins them the game over Cal. Like I've said over and over again, Cal's given up more sacks than anybody in the country. Couldn't get anything going against Stanford. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Utah's front 7 is good as Stanford's front 7, but how do you say that guy's name? Star Latui? I don't know. But the Star, he's the number 1 pick probably in the draft. He's going to sack Zach Maynard 2 or 3 times this game. And Utah goes on to win a struggle 17-14 over Cal. Oregon State. This is probably their toughest task of the season so far, going into Washington, playing at the Seattle Seahawks Stadium. Their stadium's under construction, under reservations, whatever. But Oregon State, like I said, they have a great defense. This over and over again. They're definitely having better quarterback play. Really consistent team. I think they beat Washington, but definitely I don't think. I mean, they played a really tough schedule, or they had the rest of sorry, um, just forget what I said. But they beat Wisconsin very close, beat UCLA close, beat Arizona close. Kind of struggled against Washington State, um, which I thought the toughest game of the season was going to be for them was so far as BYU, and they blew them out. And they had a pretty nice win against Utah, 21-7. Washington can be dangerous. Keith Price is an amazing quarterback. He has struggled a little bit this year, but he has moments of brilliance. And this is a really tough game to predict. I think if it was at Husky Stadium, I'd give Washington the win, but I'm gonna go with Oregon State, 21-17 over Washington, and I think that was the last game. It's tough to talk for 800 minutes straight, 25 minutes straight, but that's been my Week 8 prediction, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later. As always, roll Tide, go Sox, no Titans to you. See you later.